Welcome to episode 33 of season 5 of Whole Lot of Wolves. I'm Joshua Buckley with my co-host Paul LePage.
Hello.
Back in the producer's chair today in New York City, Alex Patakis.
Hello.
On the socials is Mr. Danny Paletti.
Hello.
And back once again from Minnesota, Mr. Triple X Sexy Sexual himself.
The joke just won't die.
Yep.
Todd DeWitt.
Howdy, y'all.
Get it back? Did you get back the Twitter handle yet? No.
I did see the account was suspended, and I tried, but no luck.
Are you just gonna not create a new one? Is that what we're going with?
Too much work.
Everyone,
I agree. Starting over from with Twitter followers is a daunting task. I would feel like. What was not a daunting task was sending Ipswich back to the championship. Hold on, it was gotta take the selfie. Woo! A 2-1 Wolves comeback win. Very exciting. Of course, celebrated with a photograph. Paul, 12 points clear, 7 to play. I mean, that was essentially a 6-pointer and the final nail in the relegation coffin for Ipswich.
I think it shows the difference in difference in quality between that bottom 3 team and then us above them, like Ipswich, Southampton getting relegated, Leicester. It's just such a gulf this season. And Saturday's game really highlighted it in a way, because although we went a goal behind, it never really seemed that we were that flustered. It gave me the vibe of Premier League team going away in the FA Cup against a team from a lower division who'd huff and puff, but ultimately our quality would run out. And that did. And in the end, I think it was fairly comfortable. If you look at balance of play, number of shots, I don't think Sarr had a save to make in the second half. So it really was a quality performance, topped off by some excellent execution by some of our top players.
Well, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. In fact, Wolves seemed to kind of fall back into some bad habits, giving up that first goal, and it really had me thinking out loud, uh-oh, we could be in trouble here. But Todd, what did you think of what was going on with that defense? It was very Gary O'Neill-esque.
I don't know. I think I had the same thought about what the defenders were thinking. Had no clue what was going on, no idea where I was supposed to be, just kind of shut off for a moment. And just kind of a calamity of errors led to that goal, because that should have been easily dealt with.
Easily dealt with. Whose fault, Danny, do you think it ultimately was on that?
I mean, it's just maybe one of the many that we've let in this season that have been a bit of just switching off at the wrong moment. I think Aitnori's not probably close enough to his man who gets the header. And then, I mean, the goal is the goal that Liam Delap scores every game. So I don't know. It wasn't terribly surprising either, because of the sort of defensive record we've had this season, even under Vitor Pereira, nor was it surprising because of the sort of goals that Liam Delap has scored for Ipswich. So it was pretty much cookie cutter. Obviously, the context of the game made it feel a whole lot worse than it probably actually was.
Alex, did you get shivers at halftime thinking we might actually blow this?
I was actually kind of confident. In fact, not to toot my own horn, but took a little Wolves money line plus 450 at half.
I did.
Someone like you would appreciate that. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I looked at the half. I was like, all right.
Yeah. I just felt like the goals were gonna come, and I was heartened by the fact that outside of that Delap goal, which felt like a very Gary O'Neill era goal, that there really wasn't a lot of threat coming from Ipswich, whereas I thought with Wolves they were gonna eventually bring it on, and even with Matthias Cunha out and Geddes like coming back from injury or whatever it might be, I still feel kind of confident about some of the options off the bench when the opposition is Ipswich, right? Like for some of the bottom half of the table teams in the Premier League, I feel like some of the bench players that Wolves have are actually pretty decent options coming on. I think some of them made a pretty significant impact. So we saw that. So I was heartened by that and kind of knew that there would be some changes that might open up the game a little bit.
Well, and speaking of those guys coming off the bench, Paul, it was Pablo Sarabia and Rodrigo Gomez to a little lesser extent, but I feel like he also was a big key. They kind of formed the perfect duet coming off the bench for Wolves.
It did. It allowed Sarabia to take up more of a centralized position, so he wasn't too far out wide. He could influence the play a little more. I think what Rodrigo Gomez gave was a natural outlet as a dedicated right wing back in a more offensive set, which Semedo brings everything defensively. He's good ball retention wise, final third, can do a little link up, but Gomez is pure go, and that showed itself a few times. But it really was the perfect game for Sarabia in that the opposition was fairly there for the taking. There was space to exploit. There were pockets of play where he could come in and out of, and ultimately offer that creativity, which was there, A, for the goal and B, for the assist for Strand Larsen's winner.
Todd, we never talk bad about Pablo Sarabia ever. He's always
Never.
old boy. I will say though, this does go back to what I've said for a while: is he's not a starter, but he's a very good guy to have off the bench. And it really seems like, again, Vitor Pereira understands who his players are and how best to put them in a role to be successful.
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into just a rag on Gary O'Neill, but it's very clear that Vitor Pereira knows how to actually get the best out of these players and knows how to set them up for success, whereas Gary O'Neill really struggled with that, obviously, especially during the first half of the season. I was when I saw Sarabia come on, my heart kind of sank a little bit, but I was like, you know what? He's creative. He may not be the fastest. We'll see what he can do. With Rodrigo Gomez, I was very excited. I'm not sure Vitor Pereira actually gave a halftime speech. I think the team was just rallied by that infectious smile of Rodrigo Gomez coming on the pitch.
He was just imagining what it's like to come home to his woman. It's just
Lord.
big old smile. Danny, let's talk about Rodrigo, though, because it seemed like the injury kind of kept him out of Vitor's plans for a while. Now he's getting work back in, but since relegation is all but in the past now, do you feel like we need to see more minutes from Rodrigo Gomez?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think the really tricky part of it is that the spot that he's most likely to take is that of our captain. And that makes it a little more difficult to get him starts. But honestly, whatever way we can do, and this might be a bit of a theme of some of the things I'll say tonight, but it's like hard to almost answer because like it's all internal to the team and who we think is likely to go. You know, is Semedo like 95% out the door, barring like, you know, a huge turnaround in terms of what Wolves will offer him? You know, how good is the market for Ryan Aït-Nouri? Do Wolves know that? Like, these are things that you could shift around and get Rodrigo Gomez on the pitch. And I think that if they know that behind the scenes, then there's every reason to try to get him minutes over players who won't be here next season. But I personally can't tell you like the likelihood that any of those things happen. I think it's likely that Ryan Aït-Nouri leaves, but I don't know, you know, like if they know something about his long-term future at Wolves, then they'll have to make that decision.
So, Alex, the question's going to be with Gomez. Is he a right wing back? Is he a winger? Do you try him at like right or left mid a little further up? Like, where is he ultimately going to settle?
I mean, I guess I could only go off of what I feel like we've seen so far under Vitor Pereira, assuming that Pereira will be the manager going into next year, which I think is very likely. It seems to me that the big difference with Rodrigo Gomez's usage under Pereira compared to Gary O'Neill is that Pereira really believes he is a wing back, and he was a very effective wing back before he came to Wolves. So in a way, I feel like Pereira is kind of just simplifying things, and I love the pace that he can offer as a wing back. Not that Nelson Semedo doesn't offer that pace, but I do think he offers a little bit more of a goal involvement threat than probably Nelson Semedo has over his times at Wolves. So I think if you go into next season with Rodrigo Gomez and presumably Pedro Lima as your wing backs on the right side, I mean, you're losing the experience and maybe defensive stability, it's at least proven defensive stability of Semedo, but you're also gaining a lot of potential in terms of what you can get on that right flank, which again, I don't necessarily know. I mean, I feel like the biggest unknown for Wolves if we're projecting forward is like what their forward line is going to look like, right? Like where are the goals going to come from outside of likely Strand Larson? Where is the attacking threat going to come from? Where's the pace going to come from? And I think Rodrigo Gomez, I think is a positive in a lot of those areas. And I still think he puts in one of the best crosses of anyone on the team, which if you're looking at Jurgen Strand Larsen's, recent streak of scoring and maybe him proving that he can be a true number 9 on this Wolves team, I do think you want some wingbacks who can contribute to that, right? Who can give him some chances, who can put in a good ball. And I think in the limited amount that we've seen Rodrigo this year, he can be just that. So personally, I think he's a good option at wingback. And his work rate is also extremely high. I don't know how he necessarily is as like a one-on-one defender. I certainly don't think he's at Nelson Semedo level, but you're going to get the work rate from him at least. So
I think what you can factor into that setup potentially next season is that right-sided centre-back position is going to be strengthened. Now, Doc hasn't done badly, but if you got Mosquera coming back, there's an option there. Giga could get minutes through the rest of the season, so we could see what he's like. So I think the opportunity really exists to look at those wing-back positions as definitely more offensive moving forwards. If Rand stays, then he offers something different to Gomez in that he'll be the skill, get to the byline, try and cut in a little more. I get the feeling that Gomez is going to be more hugging the byline and then trying to get that cross in. And the one on Saturday was beautiful, and really Strand Larsen should have buried that. It was on a plate, but that goes to show what the potential be in terms of creativity from that particular position.
Yeah, speaking of Strand Larsen, Todd, he had a couple earlier chances. It just felt like he had a goal in him, and he did put it away to ultimately give Wolves the lead. He has 11, which is too shy of Raul's 13 that he had his first year with Wolves. Just really exciting to watch this kid develop, especially with Cunha gone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has realized and taken the mantle that Cunha's out of this team, and he needs to step up and start contributing more so. I'm excited. I think to see him play and to see some of his that chest down or how he controlled the ball for Sarabia's goal was incredible. Even his goal he took, it was behind him, and he just kind of fell.
Guess we lost Todd there. That's okay. Oh, there he is.
I'm back.
He's back.
I'm back. Yeah.
Hopefully your account's not getting hacked again.
Oh, I sure hope not, man. That's a lot of work. Yeah, I'm just excited to see where JSL goes and what he develops into. And I think under at least Vitor Pereira, we'll see maybe not the best out of him, but more than we saw under Gary O'Neill.
seems like Danny, he's really given the squad a boost of intensity as well. He's kind of him, Gomez, Andre have really kind of focused the team and made them scrappier.
Yeah, I mean, the elephant in the room is also, and I'm sure we're going to get to this, is, Cunha's absence and how that's made us sort of play to his strengths. It's one little aside is that I went back and looked at that debut season for Raul, and naturally, Larson has done this without scoring a single penalty. Of course, that's because Wolves haven't been given a penalty, and even if we had, Cunha would have taken them. But Raul's 13 that first season, 2 of them were penalties. So if we're talking about open play goals, Larson's already equaled it. And he's younger than Raul was at the time. This is a player that's still going to be, getting better, getting adapted to the Premier League. It's really exciting to see us going into next season potentially with like a bit of a squad rebuild, and like we'll be able to continue to build things. Not like, it's not like we're building the team around him, but we're going to build to creating the kind of opportunities that he can put away. It's kind of like what we were talking about with Rodrigo Gomez. One of the benefits of having him in is that he tends to hit those crosses earlier and from deeper. And I think that Larson really thrives on that kind of thing, where he has a bit more element of surprise because he's not like the biggest jumper, to be honest. And he can find a better space for it, as opposed to someone who's going to get to the byline and swing something in the other way. Just simple things like that. We could see, a somewhat different way of playing next season that's even more tooled to getting him chances. So exciting.
That 3-6-1, perhaps? I don't know. The legendary 3-6-1. Alex, what a celebration by Strand Larson and by Andre, who really just got the spectacular, grabs the phone that's being recorded, gets a nice selfie and a video. How would you rank that amongst your favorite Wolves celebrations? Because we've had some good ones over the years.
Yeah, we have had some good ones. It's certainly up there. I just think even the gravity of the situation, what it meant to come back and beat Ipswich and basically just secure safety for the rest of the season, because this has been a very, very stressful year. So there was an element of relief, but I still think, in terms of recent Wolves history, that think what you want about him now, but the Cunha one, I don't know if it was the tequila sunrise shots or what against against West Brom, but there was something just so amazing about that, because it just felt so personal and so targeted, and rather than just pure joy, it was also like a little bit of taunting and a little bit of shithousery on Cunha's part, which is always a little bit fun. So, but this one was really good. And then you combine it with further Jurgen Strand Larson celebrations with the weird googly eyes thing. Is there a backstory there, or is that just
I think it's the glasses, fun? Right? I think it's the glasses being pulled off.
According to Stu, who was there, it was just a kid gave them to him. Now, whether the kid meant that as a reference, you'll have to make your own assumptions. But my understanding is that they were not glasses that Larson brought with him for the express purpose of using. So
I'll say this: I think I've grown to know British fans to know that was on purpose. Those were
yeah.
And Strand Larson may not have realized it when he grabbed them, because he seems kind of like a little innocent guy at times.
He doesn't seem like someone who would taunt like a 65-year-old steward. No, I don't think so. But I mean, maybe inadvertently.
Yeah. Paul, what's been your favorite celebration in recent history?
That one's up there. Neves at Villa, the 3-2. Again, when you've got that crowd involvement, jumping in the crowd, that adds an element to it. Either magnitude of the game or magnitude of the opponent in terms of rivalry, and it pains you a little bit to look back at Cunha at the Hawthorns, but that was pretty iconic, certainly at the time.
Todd, do you have one?
Yeah, I know it's got to be the Sin Cara mask. I know
that was mine too.
That result did not go our way, but man, that celebration, so good.
Isn't it the anniversary of that game? Didn't somebody post that?
Today, I think, or yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, that's always gonna be my favorite, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Even though the result wasn't well, just the pure just disrespect towards Watford. It's hilarious. I
And
mean, that's a Terrell Owens type hiding the Sharpie deal.
yeah, just the forethought to plan that. I was just like, yeah, got to give it to Terrell on that one.
Yep. Danny, what about you?
That one's so good. Also because of like the history that comes later with Ben Foster and getting wound up by the Wolves fans constantly. Yeah, it's hard not to pick that one just for its sort of pure audacity. I don't know. I'm probably going to go with Paul on the Villa away one. I just still remember Traore coming in late to the dog pile near all the fans who were going insane and basically dropping the people's elbow on the whole group. There's this, it's like one of the most joyful little clips. I go back and watch it sometimes of him just like arriving late and just like his full jump height, which was actually pretty shockingly high for a guy so big. And just like, I don't know who was under, it might've been Kilman or someone, just like absolutely obliterate them with his arm.
Hey man, Adama don't miss leg day, all right? He's got the vertical leap. So Paul, we've got all these good vibes. Like it really seems like the team's gelling. So now the elephant in the room. The suspension is over. Cunha can come back. They've looked really good without him. You still have the release clause. What do you do if you're Vitor Pereira?
Continue to do what is done and not change your winning team, regardless of being at home, regardless of Menezes. I think the way that he's spoken about the likes of him and Bellegarde, they've earned their shirt, they've earned their jersey, and it's going to take a lot to get it off of them. I think even though Sarabia came on and did fantastic on Saturday, I still think Bellegarde retains the starting line in the starting lineup just based on his contribution. Probably should have scored himself. Put a good ball into Strand Larsen in the first half. So, stick what we got. If he gets a place on the bench, he's probably taking up someone like Carlos Forbes. So there's an opportunity there. But even to the extent of if a deal has already been planned, or there's talks, or representatives are talking to other representatives, let's not screw it up by getting himself hurt. So stick him on the bench, wrap him in cotton gloves, maybe a token appearance here and there for 10 minutes at the end of a game, some garbage time, or if it's a dead rubber at that point. But as far as it goes, don't change your winning team and keep the momentum.
Todd, I know how you feel. Would you even have him on the bench?
Oh, no. No, not at all. The only reason I put him on the bench is maybe to give him some garbage time minutes, maybe to keep him in the shop window, but everyone already knows what he's capable of, pulling off that spectacular. I think just putting him on the bench, even for that 10 minutes, gives him 10 minutes to be just a dickhead. And I don't want that. I want to keep his value as high as possible. And unfortunately, I think the less we see of him, the higher his value is.
Danny, it's looking like Manchester United showing interest in Cunha. You think that's a fit for everybody involved, Wolves included, with £62.5 million?
I mean, we don't really got a say in the amount of money we get for him, really, and I think it's a great fit for his personality as well. I just wonder if he'll want to go to Man United with no European football.
Yeah, he wants to win titles. They ain't winning nothing.
And their record recently has been atrocious. If he's an ego-driven person, which it seems that he is, I know that it probably goes a long way to be holding up a Man United shirt and to be getting paid whatever ungodly amounts of money they're going to pay him. But he can't be immune from understanding the narrative around going to Man United right now. And that's why I said before that I think this behavior, like is really going to end up hurting him on some level, barring any major changes between now and the end of the season, because it's going to be teams like that are most likely to come in for him. So yeah, I think it's a good fit from the outside. I don't know if he sees it that way.
Danny has talked for a while about what kind of fit Cunha would be elsewhere. And this isn't necessarily a tactical thing about Ruben Amorim's system or anything like that. But for a player who so obviously cannot perform and keep his cool under pressure, I wonder if there's any part of him that could actually understand the type of pressure that comes with going to Man United at a time like this, when there were literally people talking about whether or not they were going to be in a relegation battle as Manchester United. And like what that whole, the weight of that has crushed people time and time again since Sir Alex Ferguson left. And I'm sorry, like, I don't think Matheus Cunha even has like the mental fortitude to bear that. So if he goes there, like, I think that's a great thing for Wolves, because I just see that absolutely imploding, and I see them just taking that money and it being something we kind of look back and laugh at, like we are a certain other player who went to Manchester, to the other side of Manchester, and has probably continued to disappoint, because I just don't see how. I don't know. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who can carry that burden at all. And it's a serious thing when it comes to Manchester United's rebuild. I can't see him being the poster child of that.
Mr. Joey Brains on the live chat dropping some hot takes. He said he believed Cunha starts next match, and he also thinks Cunha stays. Top 6 clubs want no part of drama queens. Todd, what will be your reaction if Cunha is still on the roster through the next transfer window?
I will. Oh gosh, I believe everyone deserves a fresh start, and if he can prove to me in off season or in the preseason that he is matured a little bit, then I would love to see it. But if he doesn't make a big statement to the fans that he wants to be here, he wants to fight and not be childish when he doesn't get his way, and he doesn't want to not necessarily carry the team, but put his weight in, then I don't want him here. I would rather just see him bombed off somewhere. Send him to grasshoppers.
Grasshoppers. I think that's a very fair take. Let's see. I'm kind of thinking like Joey is. I don't know if that release clause is going to be hit.
I think you might underestimate the extent to which teams, especially Big Six teams, think that they can fix a player.
That's true.
It's like, oh well, everyone's going to be grumpy when they're in a relegation scrap, and like our physio team will be better on his body, and he'll be so much happier when we give him all this money. There are some teams that might just have to be greedy about it. Like you look at like if Nottingham Forest make it in the Champions League, and they feel like they need a man of his talents, for them to get Champions League level players is not going to be cheap, and they can't just continue lighting Greek money on fire. So not that 62.5 million is cheap, but like if you're looking for players to compete at a Champions League level, that you could probably do worse. And so like I think someone will come for him. I'm not sure it'll be who exactly he wants.
I still can't believe Forest is closing in on Champions League. Just that should be us, Paul. That should be us. Well, let's look ahead to Sunday's match against Spurs, another team who's, down in the rankings in the table. The game's at Sunday, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. for me, Todd, and Paul. So Spurs beat Southampton Sunday. They officially sent them. They were the quickest team to be relegated, Paul. But that win was Spurs' first since February 22nd. And they're playing a Europa game on Thursday. So Wolves have a chance to get 3 more points this week?
I think so. There's no reason to suggest that we won't. I think it's going to be a pretty open, pretty attack-minded game, just based on the feeling that now the shackles will be off in terms of our plight for sure. And who knows what Spurs team are going to show up as well. A couple of early goals, they could crumble, or it could be a little end-to-end. So it's definitely one of those games that you can look at with an air of excitement and a certain entertainment value about it, knowing that you haven't got that dread that you need the points.
Todd, how are you feeling about this match?
Good. Way better than it was a few weeks ago. I think just our run of form right now and just the team chemistry. I think we can beat them. I think we can at least get something out of this game, because I don't think we used to not fear anybody, and I think we're returning to that sort of thinking that it's us against them and we can beat anyone on our day. So yeah, I think we can get something out of it.
I agree. Danny, I hear you have new catchability rankings.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know if anybody uploaded it for us to show, but I will definitely be posting it tomorrow on Twitter. But basically, just to give a sneak preview, basically, I've taken out Ipswich and Leicester below us, because I now think that the catchability conversation for them has pretty much ended. And now the catchability conversation is about West Ham, Everton, Spurs, and Man United, who are all above us. Of course, Wolves now on 32 points, West Ham and Everton on 35, Spurs on 37, and United on 38. And of course, all of us with 7 games left to play. And I think you'll see that we have at least as good a schedule as pretty much any of those teams. So, and certainly the best form, recent form of any of those teams. So, not out of the realms of possibility that we finish somewhere other than 17th, which I think would have shocked us all back in December.
Did you guys see the Vitor Pereira hype video? I can't tell if that's his actual account or just a fan account. Because it was like all this like music showing 9 points when he took over and where they are in the table now. Funny stuff. Alex, Spurs have that game Thursday against Frankfurt. Do you think that's more of a priority for them than this matchup on Sunday against Wolves?
I suppose, because they are safe. I mean, I don't know how much higher they could really finish at the table that would really make a dent, as opposed to, winning a European competition would. Ange likes to tout himself as someone who wins trophies everywhere that he goes. So this is his last shot at doing so. So if I'm them, I'm putting most of my chips in that basket at this point. They are safe. It is embarrassing where they are on the table, given the status of the club. But at the same time, getting a result from the Wolves game or not getting a result from that game, I don't think really makes a dent in it for them. So I think they look at the game against Frankfurt, especially being, I believe they're at home. That's one they got to go for and pretty much wrap up that tie before they go on the road, because if that's in jeopardy, they would be probably, even by Vegas odds, the underdogs to advance if they're going on the road without some type of lead in that tie.
Paul, wouldn't that be so Spursy for them on a season where they've been dreadful in the Premier League to finally win some kind of title? You're on mute.
Definitely. It's one of those that you just see that potential car crash of a season all of a sudden turn around and stumble upon a trophy. I quite like Ange, I've not really followed the team and the style of play so much, but I like the way he comes across and everything. So there's part of me that would quite like it based off of that.
Well, let's look at the... Oh, go ahead,
I'm just
Danny.
going to jump in and say I think that they will genuinely be targeting the Europa League competition. They've been pretty open about it recently. basically, I mean, they've known that they're safe because of how bad the bottom three are, but winning this competition is their only way into Europe. And it has been for a couple months now. So, I mean, they've literally rotated Premier League games to focus on Europa League games before. And I would not be shocked if they did that again. Obviously, that really depends on the result this week. If they can win 3-0 or something, then they probably play a pretty relaxed team against us and then rotate next week. But if it's tight at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and they have to go get a result in Germany on the following Thursday, then I would not be surprised to see rotation at Molineux.
That would be a shame. That would be a shame. Well, let's look at the standings here. Chris this was the first 3 points the guest spot has gotten this year. So they have 10 total. Good job by Chris Fisher. Todd, you've contributed one of those points, so have a chance to do better tonight. As for the rest of us, Danny, catchability, going to be tough. 31 points. It's looking good for you. Alex, 23 points. He came in with 2-0 Wolves last week on our text thread. And then me and Paul each got a point, so I'm still 2 points ahead of you, Paul. Can you catch me?
We keep on going. I can rotate the squad as well.
All right, so we'll start with you, Todd. What are you thinking for Wolves Spurs?
I think the vibes are going to be high. I think Strand Larson will have one eye on catching Raul and also surpassing Cunha's goal tally for this year. So I'm going to say 3-1 Wolves.
Ooh, 3-1. I like it. Danny?
Yeah, I'm riding high too. I'll talk about Spurs instead of Wolves like he did. I think the vibes will be good on our side. I think that Spurs have been very grumpy with their ownership, and with Ange, they don't love him right now. He was literally cupping his ears at the Spurs fans for a goal, and then it got disallowed. And then he said, "Oh no, I just wanted to hear them cheer," which is insanely bogus. And to add to that, they still and forever will play a high line under Ange. And I think with the right team selection, even if it's Cunha starting, I personally think he shouldn't. But I think we could do some real damage. I want to point out, this is a team that lost to Leicester. And in a game where Leicester looked like they deserved to win too. So I think with the vibes good at Molineux, I genuinely think we have a very good chance. And I'm only going to take into account that we don't tend to score tons of goals and say 2-0.
2-0. All right, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going for a Wolves win as well. We've been defensively solid. I think they're reeling. I do think they're going to rotate their squad. So I'm going more along the lines of what everyone else has said. And I'm gonna say, I'll say 3-1. I'll go with Todd on that one.
Okay. Paul?
I'd really like us to close out the season like Crystal Palace did last year. Do you remember when they came to Molineux and just looked like they were a Champions League team? So there's part of me that hopes we do something like that. But on Sunday, I just think it'll be two teams that can play pretty relaxed and based off of that, I think it'll be entertaining. We'll keep the good vibes going into the remainder of the games, but I'm going for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. So see, I thought I was crazy for thinking draw too, but now I can pick a draw and not have to lose points to Paul. What the hell? I'm still going 2-1 Wolves. I like the vibes. And you know what? If Paul catches me because I'm rooting for Wolves and he's not, that's okay. 2-1 Wolves.
No Stupid Questions is brought to you by Esfuerzo Wines. Located just north of Santa Barbara, California, Esfuerzo Wines showcases passion and 3 generations of winemaking in every bottle. Whether you're toasting some Vino de Vitor or winding down after a day of work, let Esfuerzo Wines transport you to the heart of wine country with each sip. Now at esfuerzowines.com, you can use the promo code VITOR, that's VITOR, at checkout to receive a 30% discount off your order. And don't forget to try the special edition 1-pack wines to show your passion and support for Wolves with each glass. This message is intended for those of legal drinking age. Do not drink and drive. Excessive alcohol consumption may be harmful to your health. If you or someone you know is struggling with alcohol abuse, please seek help. Esfuerzo Wines reminds you to enjoy their product responsibly and in moderation.
That's right. First the points, then the pours of wine from Esfuerzo Wines. Thanks to our good friends at Esfuerzo Wines for bringing No Stupid Questions, our favorite segment where you, the listener, the viewer, get to ask anything in relation to your beloved Wolverhampton Wanderers. You could do so by reaching us on Twitter, X, at WLWpod, or emailing hello@wholelotofwolves.com. Or for those of you who are watching on the live stream, you can simply just throw your questions in the chat, and then we will get to them. So we will start this week with Drew Breyer, who emailed us hello@wholelotofwolves.com, and he provided a long list of center backs that were linked with Wolves in December, Dara O'Shea being one of them with the assist, asking how the catchability index would have looked if it wasn't for Emmanuel Agbadou. Paul, give the man some love.
Big time. I think I can dig out my own tweet and toot my own horn about his impact, that if he stays fit and plays out the rest of the season, will be comfortably safe, and so is it's proving, even in the absence of Cunha. So I think masterstroke in terms of his arrival. Hat tip to the scouting department as well. That sometimes they come in for a little bit of stick, rightly so. But however it came about, someone earned a bonus with that one for sure.
He's got to be the captain next year, right? Assuming Semedo goes.
You just don't want to jinx him, do you?
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx. I don't want to jinx Agbadou. I don't want to jinx João Gomez. He's another contender, possibly in the middle of the park. So it's.
I'll keep the cowboy hat away from Agbadou.
Yeah, don't let him see it.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah, it is funny to look back on some of those guys where it felt like the sky was falling because we didn't get Dara O'Shea, and then Emmanuel Agbadou looks like an entirely different type of athlete than O'Shea when it comes to his capabilities in the center of the field. So point well taken from Drew. Agbadou has been a savior. Drew also asked us on X, do you think the absence of Cunha has unlocked João Gomez as a ball carrier? He's a different player out there. Doing the give and go with Andre and Semedo, he seems way more offensive since he signed his contract as well. Also, the bleach hair. Do we have to add him to a spreadsheet somewhere, Danny? I don't know. Maybe that's why. So what do you think, Danny, in terms of the difference in João with Cunha out, or is it just in terms of the bleach hair?
Yeah, I haven't looked into that yet, but we'll have to take a look at the stats. Not a whole lot of bleaching this season, but yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show sort of the general point that I and others have made about the team just looking a bit more balanced, even if it seems like we have a bit less of a goal threat. Because again, Cunha is the kind of player who can make a goal out of nothing, so you're always going to lose something. But one of the ways in which you gain is that there is more space for João Gomez to go into with the ball, which is what he wants to do. He prefers not to receive the ball facing his own goal under pressure. He has to sometimes, and he's pretty good at turning out of that pressure. But what he really likes is to receive it, especially from someone like Andre, and to move forward with it. And it's the same thing with Marshall Manetzi, who I know that Vitor sort of name checked him. I know he's not, the most technically beautiful of footballers, but Cunha's absence is getting him into those spaces that Cunha used to be, and that is unlocking Larson a bit. So it's like there's a lot of little knock-on effects. And I'm not going to sit here and say like this is a great reason to bench Cunha. He's actively hurting these other players. João Gomez was doing great before Cunha was suspended, but there are a lot of benefits that we've come across in this stretch.
I think he's feeling the need to live up to the contract as well. So he's wanting to prove, well, I'm getting this big raise. I'm not just a defensive guy. I can do more on the offensive side of the pitch as well.
I think if he turns into that true number 8, I think he's got 3 goals this season, with 2 assists that maybe popped up. But if he gets into that 6 to 8 goals range, which if he's got this added attacking intent in his armory now, like it looks, that run and shot on Saturday that hit the post, if he's showing that he's got that capability as well, he's got that in his locker, he can score from corners, set pieces, that will really be showing that the contract's there to protect his value, because it's only going one way.
Yeah. And the question I feel like was more about, Cunha's absence and the need for someone to carry the ball up the pitch. And I just think that the defensive solidity in Pereira's Wolves team is a reason that João could even be afforded that opportunity. And it has more to do with that than anything else. And, oh, by the way, as much as he feels like a staple in this team and really the foundation of this team under Pereira, Andre wasn't always in this team, and I think playing with a player like Andre enables João to have a comfort level to do a number of different things in the midfield. So shout out to Gary O'Neill, who couldn't find a place for the best number 6 in England in his team. Okay, on the theme of informed players, at Bailey OJ on X asks, who's our player of the season so far, and who do we think will win the player of the season so far? Todd, player of the season.
Andre. Even though didn't feature for half the season, I think this back half has shown his quality and what he can do in this team. I think he's our player of the season.
Okay. Let's go around robin real quick. Josh.
You're on mute.
Josh, he was muted.
Oh, sorry. I want to say Agbadou. I think Agbadou, you could make a real claim, kind of like Dawson was. I mean, this defense just changed completely once he came in. So I think he's got it. As for who the players will pick, don't be surprised if they still pick Cunha.
Oh.
Just throwing that out there.
Oh. Okay. Paul?
I think Agbadou's a really good shout. I'd probably go with that as well, even off the basis of just that O'Neill period was just a car crash anyway. So how can anyone really come out with that with much credit? Agbadou's been consistent, it's been phenomenal. I think my player's player is gonna go to Nelson Semedo. Just again, consistency at the whole of the season. He's not been lights out, but he's certainly been in really good form recently, and over the course of the season it's been a pretty solid 7 out of 10 most weeks.
Danny?
Yeah, I'm going to add on that. So I think I tend to see the player of the season, because it's a fan vote, it tends to be a bit emotional, and I think that's why I think it's going to be João Gomez. I think that Cunha will still get a decent chunk of votes because, Twitter isn't real life and all that. But I think that he's done enough damage to his brand at Wolves, and especially with people knowing that he's leaving, it's not really going to feel like, I don't know. I think there's always a sort of feeling like, oh, I want to give it to this guy. Maybe he'll stay with us or whatever, whereas João Gomez is all of our boy, and he's also had a pretty decent season. So it just feels like that's kind of the emotional answer. And then for player of the season, I'm just going to agree with Paul, because Nelson Semedo, we know, is highly thought of in the Wolves dressing room already. And I just want to reiterate that he took on the captaincy at our lowest point, at an extremely difficult time, with literally the previous captain still in the team and still occasionally featuring for the team. And since then, I mean, there has been no drama out of the Nelson Semedo captaincy. He has, been around for us stabilizing, our sort of emotional outbursts for the most part, except for one notable example of a player. And I just think that the players are going to respect that a lot. So that would be my bet. I mean, obviously the players, may have other reasons to vote for other people, but Nelson Semedo seems like kind of the obvious, like if you're in the dressing room, that's who you vote for.
Yeah. Well said all around. Here's another fun one. Not necessarily an accolade, I guess. Some would call it an indictment. But Joey asks in the chat, which Wolves player can you see coming to the MLS? Well, eventually coming to the MLS. So maybe it is a good thing after all. Anyone have any good nominations? Like,
Yeah, I got a good
just
one.
have that MLS stink to them,
Yeah, I got a good one. If MLS and Don Garber and all the other owners can move heaven and earth to bring Messi here, why don't they bring a superstar like Cunha?
Ooh.
He can play with Messi. That's a high honor.
I mean, yeah, Miami's basically figuring out ways to sign everybody anyway, since it looks like they're getting De Bruyne now.
Yeah, and this is my little way to get in here and talk about last week when we were and after we finished and we were all chatting with Chris. I pointed out the ignoble stat that DC United, who I supported growing up, last year finished outside of the playoffs, which is like virtually impossible to do in the MLS, and still had the Golden Boot winner, Christian Benteke, on their team, which is nuts that you can have the Golden Boot winner and not even make the playoffs. So if Christian Benteke at his age could come over here and be Golden Boot winner, Cunha will have Golden Boot locked up by halfway through the season. So.
Mhm.
You know who I would like to see come to MLS from Wolves? Big Sassy.
Oh, yeah.
Todd's mad he didn't think of that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I just want to see him play in person. That tall drink of water.
I mean, he would be a cult hero. He would be a cult hero in America.
Yeah.
I think mine is based on what appears to be a love of American sports, throwing the first pitch out at baseball.
Oh, yes.
I think Doc's going to be a really good fit for MLS just for the experience of 1 or 2 seasons.
He'd be so good too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is very good. All right, let's move on to let's go at On Duties, reels off a long list. Okay, this is a big list, guys. Asking who is going to be gone next season of these Wolves players. Should we let's just go
ahead and name them, because the answer is every single one except Doyle.
Okay. Well, Cunha, are we unanimous on that?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't be surprised if he stays, but I think he's gone.
Okay. Let's say Ryan Ait-Nouri. We talked about that a little bit.
Stays.
I'd say like 75% is gone.
I'd say he's gone. Yeah.
Todd, gone?
50-50. I'm 50-50 on Ait-Nouri.
I think he's going to be here. Sarabia.
Zero chance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Zero chance he leaves. I agree.
98% chance he goes.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's gone. Get this wages up. Just go somewhere sunny in Iberia, whether it's Portugal or Spain.
The 2% is just that Vitor Pereira really seems to like him. So
yeah,
who knows?
Okay, Nelson Semedo, current captain. Also, some papers in Portugal say he's already going back to Benfica. Anyone objections? Is he staying?
He goes. Yeah.
Probably goes.
He's gone. This is a long list of players who are going to be gone. Carlos Forbes, that they have no obligation to buy. Yeah, like
I mean, isn't he already gone for the most part?
I mean, basically, yeah.
I hate it. I wanted to see him more, but
I thought he might have a role to play this season. I agree. Huang Hee-chan Huang.
I think they do the Korea tour and then sell him.
Oh my
Same.
god! What are they gonna do when they play Spurs? They Wait. By the way, we never talked about that. Is Huang starting this weekend? Is it like a contractual obligation when they play Spurs for him to start?
I've had a lot of harsh words about people who suggested that Gary O'Neill was forced to play Huang because it's written into his contract or Jeff Shee told him to. And I have not gloated nearly enough about the fact that Wang has been riding the bench since Vitor Pereira came in. So clearly it is not a contractual issue. But I will be proven wrong if Wang suddenly starts against Spurs potentially.
Yeah. Fair.
Especially with the Korea trip, most likely. Yeah, that would be. But I don't think he'll be here through the transfer window.
Yeah, I agree. Todd, are you with that? He's gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone after their preseason. Yeah.
Paul, this may break your heart. Tommy fucking Doyle.
He stays. I think the homegrown thing is pretty crucial for Doyle. Plus that midfield duo collect a lot of bookings, so there's going to be game time. I think he's shown that he can at least fill in that 6 role. So,
yeah. Drew from Pittsburgh says that Doyle will leave on loan. There were rumors of that in January, I believe. Josh, what do you think about Doyle?
I think he stays, and I think Vitor is converting him into a 10 or trying to. He made one mention of it, saying he thinks he can be more of an offensive guy, and that's why he's working with him on the training ground, I think, full preseason. So I think Doyle is going to be a big part next year, but it's not going to be in the role we normally see him in.
Todd, TFD, stay or go?
I think he stays. I think he just plays a bench part, but I think he stays.
Yeah. Danny?
Sort of combining Josh and Todd's answer. One, yes, I think he stays. Possibly goes on loan. I can see the wisdom in that, but I think that sort of 10 role, you're basically looking at your Sarabia replacement. That when you need someone to come in and unlock a defense, that's who you bring in.
Yeah. I like that shout. I actually think he is still here next season as well. Does anyone believe Gonzalo Guedes will be here next season?
Let just free the guy. Just let him leave. He's been a good soldier this year. Let him leave.
It's so hard to know because he was actually getting decent minutes until he kind of like got injured, and now it really feels like they are just basically he's like a break glass in case of emergency, which is its own kind of irony. But like that he's on the bench, so clearly he can play, but it feels like they will just literally not play him if they don't have to, because they've said like he has a knee injury, he doesn't need an operation, but he's just like managing the pain. It's all kind of weird. Like I'm not really sure why he's on the bench if they're never going to sub him, but it could be that Vitor likes him enough and they convince him to stay, but I find it unlikely. That's all.
Yeah. He's a player I would like to have actually next year.
I know.
He's a luxury player, a decent player off the bench. Joey says, send him home. He's like Nemo. He is certainly on a journey. All right. And then the final one on this. Oh, God. I kind of forgot about Sam Johnstone.
Yeah, bye. Bye.
Everyone's waving by?
Yeah. Oh, he's gone.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's gone as well. All right, let's blow through these last few. Greg Ellis asked, do you think Fosun will back Vitor Pereira properly to stop another Lopetegui preseason situation happening?
No.
Yeah.
But does Pereira have the ego that Lopetegui has to walk out on his Premier League dream?
Actually, I think Vitor likes the players now, so I don't think he's going to be as vocal about, hey, I need players coming in, I need replacements. I think that's really helped the morale, is he's telling these guys, I believe in you. I believe you are the team that's going to turn it around. I don't need to get all these stars. I mean, obviously they're going to bring in players, especially with Cunha money, but I don't think he's going to be as vocal about it. I really don't.
It's going to be a big test for Vitor. We haven't seen him handle this yet. Part of the reason he hasn't asked for players is because journalists haven't started asking yet, because we have been worried about getting relegated. But in the last few weeks of the season, I promise they're going to say, oh, what about the summer? Are you looking at getting players in? Or like, especially if there's a big news story about Sarabia leaving or Semedo leaving. Oh, it seems like Semedo's leaving. Are you thinking about bringing in players? Then we'll have to see how he navigates that. He's navigated a lot of things very well, but he has to figure out how to navigate Fosun / Jeff Shee and a lot of people have failed that test. I will add one little thing, which is that in a weird way, I am like actually a little bit concerned about us finishing higher than 17th. I think that there is every chance that we finish 20 points or more ahead of whoever's in 18th, so probably Ipswich. Oof. And basically, go over 40 points. And Jeff Shee will see that as like, well, we were perfectly fine. What do we need to add for? Because like we thought of ourselves as being right in front of Ipswich for a long time, and we were behind them at one point. But if we end the season like 30 points above them, why would he think that this could happen? Like that we were in any trouble at any point during the season? Oh, it was just a false position because we hadn't played all the easy teams or whatever insane thing comes into his mind. I'm actually a little bit worried because I think that we can put together some wins between now and the end of the season. I'm worried about what that makes Jeff Shee think about what we do in the summer.
God. Just depressed me.
Same cycle.
I think you're kind of right. I don't have worries about like Vitor getting pissed off at leaving. I do think that the whole thing about this being his real, his main dream is real. I also think he is like an angry and petty enough type of person to want to like, do this in spite of Fosun. But I don't know. I guess it's hard to tell like what backing him properly would really mean in this context. I get if we just say that the release clause money is like the only significant money for Cunha that we could bank on coming in, like I don't know, they reinvested like 50 to 60, 70% of that into the squad. Like I think I'd be okay with that. I don't know. I like the spine of the team with Agbadou, Zhao, and Andre, like and Larson. Like I feel like that's a good starting point. So I think he's going to feel a lot better going into next season about his squad than Wolves managers in the past few seasons have going into a summer. But
I will add that there is something scary about Pereira, like you said, and I think there's a good chance that he just bullies Jeff into giving him more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he takes him out for a night of drinking at the Gifford.
Yeah.
Very possible. That's a more fun way to go about it. Okay. And then Michelle DeWitt asks, who do we think are best friends off the pitch? And are there any enemies in the team? We've seen some like really fun things in the celebrations come out with guys. I wouldn't pin like Strand Larson and Andre to be like good friends, but I don't know. They sold it pretty well in the goal celebration. Who do we think are like secret BFFs in this squad?
A cute one that I noticed was there was like a little spot that the Premier League did with Ryan Aït-Nouri, which is one of the rare chances to hear him talk. And they basically had him rating like little tricks and skills from the past. And then the last one was João Gomez doing a little pirouette and nutmeg situation. And he gave him a very high rating. He said, because that's my guy. So we tend not to know anything about Ryan Aït-Nouri because he's mostly silent. But it looks like him and João Gomez have and you can kind of see it too. Both being, I think, slightly reserved players off the pitch. It makes a bit of sense.
I could see Doc and Strand Larson being kind of under the radar BFFs. Also,
doesn't Strand Larson golf? That's a real great way to get to be Doc's friend, as we know. Or for Doc to get back on Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah. Oh, man. Paul, any friendships that spring to mind for you, or perhaps maybe guys who don't actually like each other, but they just deal with it?
Friendships, I just think in general, Toti's a really nice guy and everyone likes Toti. I think he'll be big friends with like Agbadou, like Giga, those like younger players especially. I think Toti will be one that like mixes in different circles.
Mm-hmm.
For enemies, I think all the Brazilian guys hate Santi.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I bet they'd never even speak to him.
I really want. There's no chance this is actually a real thing, but I really want Saw and Johnston just to be the best of buds, just riding around in their scooters.
Yeah, that would be great. Oh man.
Speaking of Jose Sa on the enemies front, some people clocked the argument that Zhao and Jose Sa were having right at the end of that game. There were some questions I saw online about what was going on with that. I don't think we got an adequate answer from Vitor. He basically just said it's what happens in football, high emotions and whatever. But I can probably tell you, it's like I said before, João Gomez doesn't like to receive difficult passes under pressure, and that's exactly what Jose Sa does to him every single game. So.
Yeah. I don't know who I'm trying to think of, like, who would be the closest to Bellegarde, because now that like Aït-Nouri is like maybe coming out of his shell a little, Bellegarde to me feels like the biggest mystery. Like, I think he's a largely likable guy. He doesn't say much. Like, I mean, like, who has that personal relationship with him? I don't know. He kind of just seems like a guy who shows up for work, does his business, and goes home. But I could be completely off. Again, this is all based on absolutely no knowledge of what happens at Wolverhampton Wanderers. But like, I just feel like I know nothing about him as a guy. Although there are some French speakers, at least, on this team now, quite a few. So hopefully that helps. Stephen Williams on X asks whether Aaron Ramsdale regrets joining Southampton. This is what, his third straight relegation from the Premier League? Oh my God. Unbelievable.
The better question is, does Southampton regret bringing in Aaron Ramsdale?
I think they have bigger problems, but I will say that I think they could have found someone better. But
Sam Johnston.
Yeah, Sam
probably would have
Johnston
done a better job.
Yeah. Agreed. And then we will wrap on this question from our own Joshua Buckley, because I know how much you're loving this. Your boy Dumbo getting called out by one of the best managers that's ever lived. Is anyone enjoying Pep Guardiola saying that Matheus Nunes isn't clever enough to play midfield as much as Josh is? Also, is it funnier for American Wolves fans to read that, since clever means smart in this country? That's a tough one.
Yeah, that was the first thing when I read the headline. I was like, dang, Pep just said he's too stupid to be a midfielder.
Which is funny, because there was a time before he came to Wolves that he called him one of the best midfielders in the world, which he was just pumping him up before a Champions League matchup with Sporting. But yeah, it sounds like he's either right back or nothing at Man City going forward, which is
insanity.
Yeah.
Inject it in my veins.
Yeah.
I think the same comment applies as I said about Ramsdale. City have bigger problems than Matheus Nunes right now, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
he's just going to get quietly swept under the rug.
So, Paul, when you say clever, do you mean it to be smart, or do you mean it to be like, oh, just, creative?
No, clever is in the smart case. Like,
Okay.
He was very clever at school, means he got good grades and was intelligent. I do think you obviously had some second language Pepism in that.
Yeah.
He was definitely meant to be like footballing intelligence, or he needs to have a wider understanding. I think he got done a little like that, but it still doesn't stop it sounding pretty funny.
I can't imagine like there being a situation where it's like an NFL coach said, yeah, he's not clever enough to play quarterback.
Oh man. Yeah, that would become a very that would be leading First Take for sure on ESPN. Judging by the standards that someone like Pep probably has for midfielders, I think it's I'm not surprised at all that he would say something of the sort about Matheus Nunes. But good luck to him going forward. And that'll do it, I think, for No Stupid Questions. A lot of good questions this week. Thanks to everybody who wrote in, and thanks to our friends at Esfuerzo Wines. Visit esfuerzowines.com. Use the promo code VITOR, VITOR, at checkout to get a 30% discount on your order. The vibes are high. Vitor's having his post-game pints. I'm having my post-game Wines. You could do the same with our friends from Esfuerzo Wines, who bring you No Stupid Questions each and every week.
Well, Todd, we can't get a hold of you on Twitter, so how do we get a hold of you?
Great. You could send up a flare and I'll just come find you. Otherwise, you can look me up on Blue Sky. My handle is somewhere here at Todd DeWitt. Also on Instagram by the same handle. Otherwise, just swing by the Blackheart of St. Paul any match day. I'm probably there, or a Wolves fan will be there, even if it's midweek. So yeah, come by for a drink or a shot of Malort if that's your thing.
That's nobody's thing, but we'll still do it.
Hell yeah.
That brings this week's show to an end. Thanks to Alex producing, Danny on the socials. You, the wonderful podcast listener or YouTube streamer, thanks for your support, because this is why this whole thing works. If you're inclined, please do give us a 5-star review on your podcast platform of choice, or if you're yet to do so, head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, give it all the thumbs up and support that you can, because all of that work helps with our exposure and growing this pack on our side of the pond. So we will be back this time next week. We're going to break down everything what happens at Molineux on Sunday against Spurs, and then preview next weekend's trip the following week when we go to Old Trafford to take on Manchester United in another catchability 6-pointer. So if you're around the water cooler tomorrow when you're asked whose house is it, tell them it's Wolves' house, and up the mighty Wolves.